Tablet weaving or card weaving can create some beautiful, intricate designs. The downside is there's no one standard way to write patterns. This creates a problem because how do we read these different styles of patterns? I'm going to go through some of the more common styles and some of the less common ones too, and teach you how to figure out how to read that tablet weaving draft. As a heads up, some of these systems conflict with each other.
There's something very important I forgot to tell you.
What?
Don't cross the streams.
Why?
It would be bad.
Because of this conflicting information, this might get confusing. Feel free to just watch the section that you need. The first one we're going to look at is Twisted Threads by Shelagh Lewins. You can recognize this one with its gray background and its slanted ovals in boxes. At the bottom of each pattern is a key. We're going to look at the card notation first. You can see the weaver sits where the threads join together. And your cards are labeled clockwise with A being closest to the weaver. That's important. Most cards, your cards are going to face to the left. Also, note the arrow directions, that's your turning forward. So forward turns are taking the A corner away from the weaver. Next, let's look at our threading chart. Notice that your A, B, C, and D go from the bottom up. That's important to take note of so your threads are in the correct order. At the bottom, those slants show the tablet slant. Imagine your threads are a vertical line coming straight down through that diagonal, and that diagonal is your tablet. Also notice your slanted ovals are the same angle as your tablet slants underneath the chart. Now we're going to look at the weaving chart key. A forward turn has a white background with the angle the same direction as the tablet. A backward turn has a gray background and the angle of your oval changes to the opposite direction. After your cards are threaded, you're going to follow your weaving draft from the bottom up. Your first 4 turns have a white background, so those are forward turns. After each turn, you will beat and then pass the weft. After your 4th turn weft, you will start your 5th turn by turning backwards. We know that because the background is gray. We're still moving the pack as a whole here. Now this is going to be 5, 6, 7, 8, and the 9th pick. So we're going to do 5 turns backwards. After your 9th turn, your 10th turn will be forward because now we're back to a white background. After 3 more turns forward, we're going to split our pack. So the first 3 will still go forward, then your next 4 will go backwards, and the last 3 will go forward for 2 picks. That would complete pick 14. You would continue reading your draft from the bottom up. Your white squares are forward turns, gray squares are backward turns. Lastly, here at the top, they give you a diagram showing what your woven band should look like. Let's take a cute kitten break as a palette cleanser, and Winnie is going to remind you to put Twisted Threads in its box and close the lid on that because we're finished with that one and we've got to remember,
Don't cross the streams.
Next up is Tablet Weaving Draft Designer, and this one also has the slanted ovals and a white background, and sometimes it will say the website on the bottom of the page. This one talks about S and Z threading, and that means the direction that the thread is going through the tablet. When we look at the threading diagram, Cards 1 and 2 have a letter Z below them. That means your thread is going to go from right to left through the card. 3 and 4 have an S underneath it, so that means those threads are going to go left to right. The oval slant still represents the slant of the tablet when the warp is on a loom. Notice your lettering is A, B, C, D from top to bottom on this one. Be sure you get your threads in the correct order. Now, I was reading her instructions and I couldn't find where she said which direction her tablets were facing. So I had to figure it out by matching up the picks. And row 1 of the turning diagram matches letter D. So that's going to be our first thread across the top. So that means our cards will be facing right. Tablet facing is important for your thread order. Imagine my thumb is the front of the loom, so the part closest to the weaver. If your tablets are facing left, A is your first hole that will cross the top, followed by B, C, and then D. If your tablets are facing right, D will be the first one across the top, followed by C, B, and A. Because our first pick matches the threading for D, that's our first one across the top, so we know our tablets face right. Our second pick matches the threading for C, so that also confirms our tablets face right. So looking at our turning diagram, the white backgrounds show forward turns where the top front corner pushes away from the weaver. The squares with a dark background are backwards turns. And also notice that a backward turn changes the angle of the oval, and that shows you the angle of the twist on that pick. Looking at another pattern, we see that picks 1 through 4 are forward turns, and we know that because they have a white background. On pick 5, cards 8 and 9 have a dark background, so that means those cards are going to turn backwards, and the rest will continue forwards. This is going to happen on both picks 5 and 6. Then on pick 7, everything except the edge cards have a dark background. So cards 1 and 2 are going to continue forward. Cards 3 through 11 will turn backwards, and cards 12 and 13 will turn forward. If you need a break to prevent information overload, pause here. Otherwise, we're going to keep going. Next, we're going to take a look at Guntram's tablet weaving thingy, also called GTT. You can recognize it with its yellow numbered turning directions, and instead of ovals, it has angled rectangles. Some of them show this key to help you know how to set it up. Some of them don't, but they all follow this same orientation. Your tablets face to the right so that the D is on the top and closest to the weaver, as if that weaver is sitting in that chair right there. Your forward turn is away from the weaver. You use S and Z as the direction of the thread going through the tablets. When we look at the threading chart, notice your A, B, C, and D's start at the top and go down. And you have S and Z underneath your squares. This one does not show your tablet slant, so you have to be careful that you're doing your thread direction to S and Z and not your tablet slant. Notice above the threading chart, your cards are each numbered 1 through 18 in this case, from left to right. Your turning directions use these card numbers. If you look in the first column, those are your forward turns. On picks 1 through 4, all 18 cards turn forward together. When we get to pick 5, it looks a little bit confusing, but it's really not. If you look at the backwards column over there on the right, cards 6, 7, and 8 will turn backwards, and 11, 12, and 13 will also turn backwards. The rest of the cards continue forwards. When looking at the slanted rectangles, this is a good representation of what your weaving will look like. It's hard to follow for weaving, so stick to the numbers on the right-hand side in the yellow section, but this can show you what your finished weave kinda should look like. If your cards all turn together, your tablet numbers will just alternate from the left column to the right column. And if your threading direction is in a different location, it's still the same idea of threading. You're still going to match up your A, B, C, and D. Your tablet's still face to the right, and you're still using the S and Z for the thread direction. The red lines show you where your pattern repeats start and stop. These are some of the more common types of patterns you will find online. Remember, each system is self-contained in its own little box. Don't cross the streams.
Don't cross the streams.
I'm going to also look over some less common types next. Again, this is very information heavy. If you're feeling overwhelmed, feel free to pause this video and come back to it later, or look at just one section at a time. This first one is very similar to GTT. You can see in your directions on the left side of the screen that your cards face right. Your S and Z refer to the threading directions for the threads, and your letter D hole is starting at the top. The biggest difference here is your turn directions, and that's shown at the bottom of each sample with a 4F, 4B, or 5F, 5B. This is an abbreviation for 4 forward and 4 backward. Your whole deck is turning together. Notice on this one, you're back to having a card slant at the bottom. So you thread as if your thread is coming vertically straight down through those slants. If you look at the little person on the left-hand side, your A hole needs to be closest to your weaver. So the example shows the cards being lettered counterclockwise, but if your cards are lettered clockwise, that just means your cards face left. Your A, B, C, and D threading goes from the bottom up. Continuing upward, we have our turn directions. The white background is forward turns, and the gray background is backward turns with the changing oval slant. Some of these have 2 ovals in them. That means in that pick, that one card is going to go through an extra turn to bring up a different color. I haven't done many like these before, but that's what that means. So this one is kind of cool. This has an actual picture of the cards and which thread is in which hole you can see with the coloring. And it's got the angle slant of the tablet slant. So that's cool. If you look up at the top right where we are right now, it's showing you that your AB side is going to be closer to the weaver. Again, that would mean your tablets face left if they are labeled clockwise. Up to the threading diagram, your A, B, C, D is from the bottom up. And then when we get up into the turning directions, it gives you little arrows showing that you turn forward away from you and then you turn backwards. The center cards are the only ones that change direction. It looks like your edges would just continue forward. And that little red bracket is showing you the full repeat. So these are some really neat simplified designs that I came across. If you look at the bottom, you can see these use the tablet slant. And your holes are numbered A, B, C, and D from the top bottom. Now, take a look at that pattern at the top left-hand corner. You can see the pattern on the left matches the threading diagram. So your D needs to come up and over first, followed by C, followed by B, followed by A. So be sure your cards turning match that. So if your cards are labeled clockwise, that would be your cards facing right. These also give you the design if you were to do 4 forward and 4 back. And you can see that to the right side of each threading diagram. These are also some if you have a 6-hole tablet. Same concept, just with a card with 6 holes instead of 4. I also found some Russian patterns, which is kind of neat to take a look at. They use little arrows to denote the tablet direction at the top of their threading chart. Their tablets, even though it's in a different language, a different alphabet, they're labeled clockwise. You can tell by that little arrow on there. And your A hole is the one at the top nearest the weaver. You can see that the A is the one that needs to be nearest the weaver because that's going to be the first one up and over at the very beginning there. You can tell that by that red thread being first instead of the white ones being first. When we continue to look on to their pattern diagrams, you can see they continue to use the arrows and they give you a cool little drawn example of what your band is going to look like. So I thought these were neat. These are bands using only 2 colors, a dark color and a light color. They use the tablet slant. They show you where your dark color is with the X's. And your A needs to be the first one over the top. So if your cards are lettered clockwise, that would put your cards facing left. Here's something I'd like to show you. These 2 patterns look very different. The one on the left is a GTT pattern. The one on the right is less common, but it's very, very similar to twisted threads. They look very different. With the exception of the borders, these patterns are the same pattern. You get the same end result. So this is probably the summary of this video, is that the same pattern can be written many, many different ways. You just need to be able to figure out which one you're looking at and how to read it. I hope this was helpful, and happy weaving!